15th, 2010. Fenway Sports Group, then New England Sports Ventures, purchased a club that had finished the previous season in 7th place and were paying interest payments on loans of £340,000 per week. Liverpool were a failing enterprise. But in less than 10 years, they've won the Champions League, reached another final, and most recently, of course, won a league title for the first time in 30 years. Now, the catalyst for that ascension has undeniably been Jurgen Klopp. The performance of the reformed and data-led recruiting department has also been essential. Headed by Michael Edwards, the sporting director, the club's wild success in the transfer market, in buying, selling and identifying value more clearly than any other Premier League team, has helped to construct a world-class side, which is still yet to realise its full potential. But FSG's stewardship has been fundamental to the process too. And while it hasn't been without blemish, they can fairly be portrayed as enabling and innovative owners. In Bring the Noise, the biography of Klopp, written by Raphael Honigstein, FSG president Mike Gordon described the process of identifying Brendan Rodgers' successor and also the attraction of Klopp's overperformance at both Mainz and Borussia Dortmund. I tried to set aside his popularity in the football world and his charisma for an unbiased analysis, Gordon remembered. The process was much the same as you would undergo in the investment business before taking a big position. At his initial meeting with Gordon, FSG's principal owner John Henry and Liverpool chairman Tom Werner, Klopp stressed the need to activate the Anfield crowd and to create what Honigstein refers to as a self-amplifying cycle of exuberance. 5 years later, he and they have created just that. From their dispassionate analysis, aimed at identifying a candidate who could maximise their resources to the betterment of more affluent rivals, Gordon, Henry and Werner found a head coach who married perfectly with the club's identity. But while Klopp has clearly been the driving force behind Liverpool's revival, and his influence can also be seen in non-sporting performance, the growth around him has not only been noteworthy, but fundamental to the club's capacity to nourish his work with further spending. In their near decade of ownership, the indicators of FSG's performance away from the pitch are universally positive. Commercial revenue has risen from £67.7 million in 2010 to £188 million in 2019. Broadcasting revenue is up from 74.6 to 263.8 over the same period. And matchday income has almost doubled, rising from 42.5 to £83.3 million. Now, behind that statistic lies a cornerstone initiative that actually predates Klopp's arrival. In December 2014, work began on the first phase of Anfield's expansion. The new main stand, on its opening in September 2016, added 8,500 new seats to the stadium's capacity, including brand new corporate and media facilities, and the effect was shown immediately. In spite of playing fewer games that season, with the club not qualified for European competition, matchday revenue rose by over £11 million. By 2018-19, Liverpool have the third highest matchday revenue in the country, still behind Arsenal and Manchester United, who occupy bigger stadiums, but with a significant advantage over Manchester City and Chelsea. But the value of the stadium expansion doesn't just show in increased gate receipts, nor is contained by its new capacity to stage major year-round events. The improvements to, in particular, its corporate facilities, have immeasurable worth. In concert with advancing performance, growing profile, and the promise of further stadium enhancements, the new stand and Anfield's changing image has also helped to make the club more attractive to sponsors. And to a certain type of sponsor too. In 2018, Standard Chartered extended their partnership as the club's main partner. In 2017, Western Union was signed as a shirt sleeve sponsor, and a year before, in 2016, the gaming brand BetVictor had become the club's training kit sponsor. By 2019, they'd been replaced by AXA, the multinational insurance brand. They joined long-term partner Carlsberg and other blue-chip brands such as Nivea and EA Sports on an increasingly diverse but impressive list. 9 new commercial partners were signed between 2018 and 19 alone, while the club also added a new retail partner in Malaysia and unveiled new selling channels on Amazon in the USA, Canada, and in Germany. Such regional focus has become a commercial priority. In a February 2019 interview with SportsBusiness.com, Chief Commercial Officer Billy Hogan stressed the need for the club to tailor individual partnerships to specific parts of the world and capitalise on the club's uniquely global status. Liverpool have an Egyptian real estate partner, for instance, and also count one of the country's largest banks among its sponsors. Logical moves perhaps, and built around Mohamed Salah's success in England, but also indicative of a certain agility and the kind of bespoke approach that Hogan refers to. In the most recently released financial accounts, commercial revenue was shown to have risen year on year by £34 million, and, unsurprisingly, it's the club's fastest growing revenue source. It's a success enabled by performance, but also by a precious historical advantage. Liverpool have always been a large club, but they spent much of the modern era underperforming, and, in response, parts of their large multinational fan base had become increasingly latent. But now, not so much. Additionally, according to The Athletic's Matt Slater, many Liverpool fans who were drawn to the club during their decadent 70s and 80s eras are now in positions of authority at major companies around the world. But nowhere, however, is Liverpool's growth under FSG better charted than on their most visible asset, their famous red shirt. In 2012, Adidas declined the opportunity to renew their kit sponsorship agreement at a cost of £12 million per season, with the German brand dismayed by the disparity between performances on the field and Liverpool's own calculation of their worth. In 2020, having fought through the courts for a premature end to their agreement with New Balance, Liverpool will enter the first year of an agreement with Nike. The new deal will be worth £30 million a season, less than New Balance were offering, but by estimation, it's thought to be worth around £75 to £80 million a year, with the club due 20% royalties on every unit of kit sold. It will, by those projections, be the third richest deal in the world, and the most lucrative in English football history. But it's a bold move which characterises FSG's growth strategy. New Balance had been willing to match Nike's offer and had arguably produced the finest shirts in years. The key to Nike's appeal was distribution, though. According to reporting by The Athletic's James Pearce, they've vowed to sell the kit in at least 6,000 stores worldwide, whereas New Balance were never able to distribute from more than 3,000 outlets. It's a gamble. The deal will provide less money up front, but on the presumption that performance will drive sales, much more as a reward for further success. It's an aggressive, smart, and typical move. And of course, football is ultimately a game for the super wealthy. So, while FSG are obviously to be credited for the hiring of Jurgen Klopp, the backing they've given, and the many micro-initiatives they've overseen, their most important role, in broad terms, has been to capitalise on his performance in material terms and provide the capacity for further growth. And they've done just that, becoming a behemoth club in real, rather than just theoretical or historical terms. The club Jurgen Klopp joined were paying an average first-team wage of £67,500 per week. The club he now leads are paying an average of £106,500. Under FSG, Liverpool have mastered the virtuous cycle of on-pitch success and financial performance.